Okay,
Troy,
maybe.
great to see you. It's a pleasure to interview one of the ISSIP or ISIP, right, as the organization likes to pronounce it, award winners, in your case for innovation. And so, congratulations. All right. I'm
Thank you, thank you.
I'm an ambassador from the People-Centered Internet, and so I'm delighted to be sharing this moment with our other ISSP members or ISIP members. So say a little bit about yourself, your role, and your organization, right, that you're a part of. I see your URL as EarthGrid, and we want to hear about it.
Okay, cool. So a little bit about me. I'm a serial entrepreneur. EarthGrid is company number 8. I've had 1 failure and 4 exits. Most all of my companies have been in infrastructure, and most of those have been in clean energy infrastructure. So I built a wind farm company, Trade Wind Energy. I started that in the 1990s, became the largest wind farm developer in the United States in 2018. It's now a $35 billion division of Enel Green Power, a multinational utility. Then I started a solar company. And anyway, EarthGrid, entrepreneurs solve problems or start companies that solve problems that they've encountered. And the biggest challenge or the biggest impediment to the growth of low cost solar and wind power is lack of transmission lines. And going underground, we can get transmission lines approved, permitted, and built in about 2 years. Overhead lines in the US, on average, take 15 years to get approved and permitted. So anyway, I invented a plasma tunnel boring robot. That's what EarthGrid does. We have this patented technology that I came up with about 8 years ago. So imagine a little tractor with lightsabers on the front, vaporizing all of the rock and soil, and a Mandalorian jetpack blowing out all the little bits of sand and rock out the other side. My teenage son helped me with that description, by the way.
Well, that's good. Let me just tell you, my family is from Perry, Oklahoma, which is the home of Ditch Witch. So it sounds like a
Ah,
very familiar path that you're on, but it's for a very specific reason. So good for you. We need more transmission lines.
we do. Yeah. If someone needs to dig a ditch in dirt, they should buy a ditch witch. But if there's hard rock, that's when they call us.
I like it. That's good. So your award, your innovation award is, why did you win? Why do you not only why did ISIP give it to you, but why do you think you won?
Well, it's a great question, and again, I'm very grateful for the award. I believe that ISIP gave it to us because of the disruption that we're able to bring. I mean, we're being told that this is world-changing technology because if we're boring tunnels, which is our primary use case, yeah, we can do ditches as well. If there's like a thin layer of soil and then rock underneath, we can vaporize all the rock. And we can also carve out caves or dig holes in the ground or whatever for fish farms in Iceland. That's one of the projects we're going to be doing next year. But for tunneling, we can bore at speeds of 100 meters a day, over 300 feet. And we've even demonstrated a kilometer per day, 1,000 meters a day. Typical tunneling speeds in hard rock like granite and quartzite and stuff like that, and gabbro, typically a good day is 10 to 20, maybe 25 meters in a day. And we're showing, again, 100 to 1,000. So we're faster and we're cheaper. We don't use water, we don't use chemicals, bentonite, drilling mud, any of that stuff. So we're actually better for the environment. But our process simply uses electricity, which is cheap thanks to the proliferation of wind and solar, and air, which is free. We just pass air over an electric arc, superheats the air to a 27,000 degrees Celsius plasma, like a little miniature sun.
Mhm.
And like I said earlier, turns the rock into sand and gravel. So that innovation is going to dramatically lower the cost of burying power lines in this country that are going out every time we have storms and accidents and squirrels. And also power lines are causing fires.
That's right. So what is the history behind uh, this technology? Is it derivative of something that already existed? Because I think that arc
Yes.
plasma, clearly, has, a lot of either manufacturing or uh, not out in the wild, but in a setting right? So you've basically
Correct.
turned it loose in a lot of ways. What's the history?
Yeah, the history is in 2016, I had was running Pristine Sun at the time, a solar farm, utility scale solar farm
Hmm.
development and ownership operation company, and we had to downsize one of our solar farms by 75% because the grid near the solar farm didn't have enough capacity, and we were trying to connect to a stronger part of the grid about 3 kilometers away, 2 miles, but it was underneath a bunch of protected creeks and wetlands, and the permit would have taken 18 months to get, and the cost to bore underneath was so crazy high, it was crazy expensive, that killed that idea. So anyway, we're drowning our tears over beers at a happy hour in San Francisco, and one of our solar engineers is a former Navy SEAL, and he was bragging to his girlfriend about how SEAL team, when he was on the SEAL team, they would practice going underwater, cutting through the side of enemy ships with a plasma cutting torch. This plasma has been around a long time, right?
Hmm.
And we're like, oh, dude, you're such a badass. He's like, yeah, that thing was 20,000 degrees. Take your arm off. Anyway, and so that story caused me to pop out of bed in the middle of the night that night. I was like, huh, 20,000 degrees. That's probably hot enough to go through a rock. Researching all night long. And anyway, long story short, couldn't stop thinking about the idea. Built the first prototype in late 2017. It worked in 2018. We got it working, and fast forward to today, we're now fully commercialized on our excavator, and within about 2 quarters of being commercialized on our tunnel boring robot.
Wow, that's a great story. Uh, and it was already out in the wild, just in a different use case. So there you
Exactly.
go. Um, what's been the impact so far? Well, how would you, characterize, you already seem to have a number of different ways that it's manifesting. So let's talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, the impact so far, I mean, we're still a startup, right? And we have only completed 3 small projects with our first machine. Now we have, like I said, our second machine should be ready hopefully by the end of the year. But it's creating a lot of excitement in three, a lot of industries, but three primary industries. The construction industry, we're being told by some huge construction companies that they do not have a solution for a lot of projects they're asked to bid on in hard rock. They just literally can't get through it cost effectively. So they just, they don't bid, they walk away. Secondly, utilities, electric, water, gas, fiber, telecommunications companies. There's so much need for improved infrastructure, in everything you can think of. We need more transmission lines, as we already talked about. We need more stormwater drainage. We need better, gas infrastructure, all kinds of things. So we're getting approached by dozens and dozens of utilities. We actually have over 30,000 contacts now in our HubSpot CRM, of potential, potential customers. So everyone's kind of waiting for us to be fully commercialized and do some more pilot projects. But people are starting to realize, wow, this urgent need for more power because of the electrification of everything. Vehicles are, electric vehicles are still selling like crazy. It grows every single year. Even though sometimes the headlines don't really point that out, the facts are they keep growing, but also the electrification of heating for homes and businesses, industrial processes, and data centers, AI, huge demand for power. And we don't have solutions for that. We can build lots of really cheap solar and wind, but there's no transmission to get it there. So we're being approached by data center companies saying, hey, can you build us an underground extension cord, to our site that we're developing from a solar farm that's, 30, 40, 50 kilometers away. And they can't build because no one's building transmission lines. They've been stuck for 7 years. And we're like, sure, we'll connect you to. So that's a strong use case. Anyway, so to summarize, construction companies, utilities, and data centers.
Fantastic. So is there people want to find out more, is there a good URL or a place to go learn
Yeah,
about
sure.
EarthGrid?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Our website is earthgrid.io for input output. And if people do any research, they'll see this. So I should probably mention we signed and announced an $18 billion joint venture with a sovereign wealth fund out of the Middle East to
Mhm.
fund a bunch of tunnels in the United States, as well as some in Europe and the Middle East. And these it'll be basically an underground super grid coast to coast here in North America. So
Wow,
pretty
that's
excited about that.
yeah, that is. I was going to ask you what's next, and you just told me, right? So
I did.
that's an $18 billion what's next. So that's pretty good. I like it.
It's yeah, that's a 10-year exercise to start
Hmm.
developing and then building those tunnel projects. And they'll have power, fiber, water, and freight tubes to deliver freight,
Hmm.
packages and things like that. So
Now I'm going to ask you an adjacent question, right? Because
okay.
you're in the whole notion of, right? Well, do you need a drill? No, what I need is a hole, right? And
Exactly.
you're delivering it, right? I mean, there
That's right.
in a new and interesting way. In the transmission game, I know that there's a lot of transmission loss between the place that you make it and the place that you actually use it, right? And the longer it is, the more the transmission loss. Do you see anything else going into your holes, right, into your tunnels that might change that game, right, in terms of transmission efficiency? Or is your, are you providing essentially a different kind of insulator by the hole that you're providing that helps that in some way, shape, or form?
So yeah, so transmission line technology has actually come a long way in the last couple of decades. So
Hmm.
the high voltage DC lines that are being installed in China, Europe, and so forth have come a very long way from the very first HVDC line that was installed in the world, which happens to connect Los Angeles to the Columbia River Valley on the border of Oregon and Washington. Hydropower is being that was built in the 1970s, and the losses going that's a very long distance, right? From the
Hmm.
Washington state of Washington to LA. I think the losses are around 8 to 10%. So it's not too
Good.
bad.
Hmm.
And that's because it's DC. If it were AC, the losses would be much worse. At low voltage, DC has much worse losses, but at high voltage, DC is better. So anyway, and that was the first one. Now the losses can be 2 or 3%, but the voltage is higher. Instead of 300,000 or 400,000 volts, some of them are over 1 million volts. In addition to that, and we're not going to develop any of that technology, right? We're just going to partner
No, I
with
got
the
it.
companies that make this stuff, right?
Sure.
Yeah, but in addition to HVDC, we are looking at superconducting cables that are now being produced off the shelf. There's a company out of France called Nexans, one of the largest cable manufacturing companies in the world, and they have an off-the-shelf 49 kilovolt HVDC cable that can carry huge amounts of energy. So we're looking at both.
Fantastic. Well, we're looking forward to that, and you're enabling many things to go and to get enabled. So, how did you find out about this ISIP Excellence Award program? How did you first learn about it?
I learned about it because someone on my team heard about it. I'm not sure how they did, and they told me about it. It's like, well, we should apply for this. I'm like, okay, yeah, we should.
All
So
right.
glad we did, and now, yeah, we're all honored.
All right. Well, are you planning to get more involved with ISIP now that you've won an award with the organization?
Yeah, the team is looking into that because I think there's probably some really good networking opportunities
Hmm.
and collaboration opportunities. So indeed.
All right. So I'm going to wrap up by asking, is there a question you wish I had asked you that I didn't ask, right? Because there's a lot going on in your world, and I'm
Yeah.
not omniscient yet. I'm at least several promotions away from being all knowing.
Let me know when you arrive because I
I
want to get
know.
some advice from you. Let me think. There's other questions people ask. We already talked about the environmental, but probably the most common one is for our tunnels. How deep are they?
Hmm.
And we don't really care because we don't mind going through hard rock, so we can be as deep as we need. But there's a lot of other infrastructure that's either trenched or in conduits that's close to the surface, right? And so our typical plan is to be 3 to 5 meters below the surface. I prefer metric rather than, we're I think the last country on the planet that still uses feet that came from Europe. But anyway, so that's 10 or 15 feet, and that gets us below the spaghetti of all the other infrastructure that's there.
Hmm.
And often we'll be in the bedrock, which makes for a stronger tunnel. And if we're boring through rock, not only is it a stronger tunnel, there aren't any critters really that live in rock, maybe some bacteria or something, I don't know. And so I think it just has a lot of benefits, and it insulates the equipment from solar storms and other types of storms and things like that. And I'll just close by adding underground power lines as an example are 9 times more reliable than overhead lines, with 10 times fewer truck rolls, which means it'll save all of us as consumers a lot of money on our power bills if we can improve our resiliency of the infrastructure.
Couldn't agree more. Is there anything else? Is there anything that you're looking for that you want to connect with or need that perhaps an ISSIP member or anyone listening to this might be able to help you with?
Absolutely. And good email is info@earthgrid.io if you want to reach out to us. But yeah, the thing that we're looking for now are basically pilot projects or opportunities for us to demonstrate our technology. And we're even in 2025, we're even willing to do that for free because we want to have more experience in different geologies and different geographies. So we want to be all over the country, all over North America, and even in Europe, showing utilities and construction companies. We can invite them to come see a demonstration where we'll say, okay, fine, we'll dig a 200 or 300 meter long trench for you at no charge, or we'll carve out a cave for your wine storage or something like that. Invite people to come see it. So if anyone has any projects that they want some free hard rock excavation or tunneling done, please reach out to us because this will be the last time. This year will be the last opportunity to get that free kind of work.
Troy, it's fascinating. It certainly was an award-winning arena that you're describing, that you're in, and I'm sure somebody is going to want to take advantage of that that's listening to this as a playback. Thanks for spending time with us, and again, congratulations on winning. Please stay involved with ISSIP, and we look forward to hearing more from you and your team as you succeed in the marketplace.
Thank you for having me, Kevin. And again, my heartfelt thanks to all of the members of the ISSIP organization for honoring us with this award.
Troy, all the best. We'll talk again soon. Cheers.
Cheers. Okay, record, stop recording.